Today, we're going to talk about brand photography sessions and models for those sessions. And I am super excited to dive into this topic because it's one that I think a lot of people struggle with. So I want to give you a quick rundown of exactly how I would approach getting models for your brand photography session. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Many of you are familiar with the name, of course, because all I do is talk about them. But if it's new to you, Jane is a HIPAA-compliant all-in-one practice management software and the sponsor of the Up in My Business podcast. The team at Jane knows that your time is valuable, and they've designed online intake forms to help you reduce admin work and so that you can take back your treatment time. Whether you need to collect patient or client data, insurance policy information, health history, or consents, Jane's online intake forms offer a safe and secure way to gather everything you need before your patients even walk through the door. You can also collect payment details securely through your intake form via Jane's PCI compliant payment solution, saving your patients time at checkout and a ton of time for you as well. It is the absolute best feature. To learn more about how Jane's intake forms can help you and your practice, head to jane.app/guide to book a one-on-one demo with a member of the Jane team. If you're ready to get started, you can use the code LEX1MO. Again, that's LEX1MO at the time of sign up to get a 1-month grace period applied to your new Jane account. Welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. I am super pumped to talk about brand photography sessions and getting models for those sessions today. As always, I'm going to start off with personal updates, then business updates, and then we'll jump into the episode. I don't anticipate it being too long of an episode just because I am going to dive right into one specific topic as far as models go. And I am going to dive into that from two different perspectives. So I'm going to jump into that shortly, but let's start off with personal stuff. As always, I'm still getting used to the time and weather change, or lack thereof, I should say. It's officially December, so welcome. I cannot believe it's the end of the year and officially the last month of 2023. It feels like, I always feel like I say this, but this year specifically flew by just really, really fast. So approaching the new year, I will be sending out, as always, emails, I think 2 this month, specifically to talk about, of course, the monthly rundown, if you will, for January, but also to talk about, what you should be looking for on your website in the new year and what to do before the new year. And even if the new year hits, what to do the minute that it hits 2024. So that will also likely be a podcast. So if you listen to the podcast, you won't miss it. But if you're not on my email list, I do recommend subscribing. You can find that in the show notes. And I know that's one extra step, but I would highly, highly, highly recommend signing up for my email newsletter. I don't bombard you with emails by any means, just because long form writing is not something that I absolutely love, and hold dearly. So I will email you, yes, once a month for the monthly rundown. And then whenever I am selling something, you will get those emails as well. And I think that people will, come and go as they please. That's autonomy is amazing. Like, I am glad that you have that. So feel free to sign up. If it gets to be too much, leave. And if you want to come back, come back. Always, always, always welcome. So I guess that was a little bit of a business update, but yes, December 1st, it's sunny. Today it was really cold for volleyball this morning. And then, by the time we were done playing some games, it was pretty hot out. So really getting used to the weather here still. And I think that it feels like, you always say that, Lex, and I know that I always say that. And it's just, at this point in time, I'm usually in the cold weather, in snow, and to not have that, it's just a very drastic change with it being, 30 years of dealing with that. So it's been great. I am super pumped about all of that stuff. Not this year. Like, I do not like snow. I do not do well with the cold. My body does not do well with the cold. So to know that I don't have to deal with the negative temperatures is something that like my body is really excited for, just because it just does not do well. I never felt great in the cold. I have a lot of aches, pains. I will be the first person to shiver. Like, it's just not fun. And I've always never really dealt with a cold well. So to not have to deal with that, I am super grateful. Other life stuff, I feel like traveling was good. Oh, and I guess I recorded this episode, or my last Monday's episode, before I left for Thanksgiving. So if you are not on my email list, then you may have not seen that I went to Pennsylvania to spend time with Shantae's family for Thanksgiving. It was incredible. My family was also there. It was truly one of the best days. I'm so grateful that my parents made the trip down there to spend the day with, the family, and we had the best day and I had the best time. I'm so grateful that I was able to be there and my family was there. And I will say the only people or things that we missed, I say people, because our animals are our kids. So we missed the kids. If Rupert and Moose could have been there, obviously it would have been perfect, but they were home. Moose was with her dog sitter, who I absolutely adore. So I cannot really complain about that. And she forgets about us when we're there. And Rupert got the whole house to himself. So can't really complain there. And as for Christmas, we'll be traveling again back to my family. So really excited for that. Christmas travel, holiday travel was not bad Thanksgiving wise. So curious to see how Christmas travel is. I don't know. I've never really traveled on or near Christmas. So we'll see. And let's see, I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to touch base on. Oh, Espresso Land. Actually, before that, let's talk about Moopert. So last night was the first, I think it really would be like the first official time that Rupert was essentially wandering around the house and not in his room. And he was just wandering freely around the house. Moose wasn't chasing him. She was choosing to lay in her bed and not chase after him. And it was just a big step up from where we were. So hoping that can continue on. And she has gotten rid of the instinct that, is to chase him. We've been fighting that obviously since, she came here. So really hoping that we turned a corner with that. And then also, Shantae being so involved with espresso now, I have her make me an Americano pretty much every day, sometimes twice a day. And honestly, it's made me realize how watered down and weak other coffee was that I was buying. No names in particular, but just going to coffee shops, mostly like the big chain ones. I go to Starbucks regularly and I was getting the iced coffee, but compared to the espresso and just Americano in general, which is just espresso and water and obviously ice, it's just so much better. I love it. I am so grateful that we can have this at home. And one of our newest favorite desserts, honestly, is the avocado. So vanilla ice cream, always Haagen-Dazs too, the best vanilla bean ice cream, and then coffee, espresso, and it's just the best. It's becoming one of my favorite desserts and we get to make it right at home. So really, really loving that she is loving espresso because I get to benefit from her being the best barista. So yeah, that's that. I will say though, I had a couple people be like, oh, I've been so interested in starting to get into espresso. Yeah, I will say that it's a lot of work. The milk is really hard after I watch. I don't do any of it. So I watch Shantae and the milk it seems so difficult and it's a lot of like math and numbers and she's done so much reading. So I will say, like, if you're interested in it, be prepared to dive deep into the rabbit hole. I guess you could just buy the things and do it, but she has a whole episode on this espresso journey. So feel free to go to her podcast to check that out. But yeah, it's just a lot more than I thought it was, to be completely honest with you. And I feel like, and maybe this is something that I don't know if anyone else has seen or felt, but I was like, man, I am inspired. Like, she's so into this thing that's outside of work. It's outside of friend relationship. It's outside of our relationship. And she's so into this hobby. And I was thinking, because we both play volleyball, right? So that's become more of like, it's a constant. And then she had gotten into espresso and I was like, I am really inspired. And so I decided that I'm going to get more into cooking and like the science of cooking. I always tell myself the story that because I didn't go to school for that, or because I didn't grow up doing all of the cooking, I can't, quote unquote, can't do it. And, I just kind of accepted that and I'd follow recipes. I can do it. I follow recipes, but I don't know why things are the way they are. So I actually bought I will call it a textbook all about cooking. And it's like the science of cooking and understanding like why certain things happen and why you use certain ingredients here and there and how to cut certain things. And it goes through all of the different techniques and systems, etc. And I'm really excited about it. So I bought that book, and then I also bought 3 different cookbooks. And I dove into the Instagram world I post recipes. So I have a bunch of people that I'm following now that post recipes all the time. And this week I have 3 different things planned that I'm going to cook. And instead of doing what I typically do of like, I'm going to follow the recipe and just kind of follow it, I'm actually going to follow it and then try to understand why each piece is the way it is and why ingredients are being used, etc. But it all started because she was really into espresso, and I was like, I wish I had something like that. So, and it's been something that I've thought about mostly because I always say like, I can't walk up to the refrigerator and say that I'm going to create a meal. I think that's a skill that some people obviously have been taught or have learned and have developed. And I've always wanted to be like, I didn't plan dinner. I'm going to walk up to the refrigerator and just plan something. Or when someone is like, can you make this dressing or make this sauce, and like not have to actually look it up. I think looking it up is a very powerful thing that we have the access to. So I don't want to down on that. I will always be grateful for that. As a PT, you're always Googling stuff and looking things up. So I am not above Googling things and looking things up. But for me, I'm like, I want to understand the intricate pieces of it and just get into the nitty gritty. So really excited for that. Okay, that was a lot more personal updates than I thought I would have. Business stuff, I am officially booking into 2024. So my December is quite literally as full as I would ever want it. And I will not be accepting more clients in December. So if you're looking to work with me, it will be January of 2024. I believe my 2 do-it-in-a-day spots are taken for January as of now, and February I believe is also full. So I may be adding a 3rd one in February. I don't know, potentially in January, because we have 5 weeks. I have to look into that further. But if you're looking for any sort of service where we either sit down and have a to-do list day where we knock out a bunch of tech, or tech stuff, automation, sales pages, we build out landing pages, any sort of website page redesigns. We look at connecting email marketing software to your website, to your sales page, to your cart, all of the things. So if you're looking for that type of service, I am booking into at least January, if not potentially March. So I would definitely reach out to me to grab a spot. And then that's also for a new website too. I feel like I didn't talk about that. I also might do a full episode on like how to work with me, because I feel like most people are not really, they don't know how. And I will likely put that into my email newsletter and my posts coming up too, just so people are aware of it, because I find that because I offer so many things, it's hard to know what exactly you can work with me on. So that is happening. And then I think that's really it. Just I am booking into 2024. So if you're looking to work with me, definitely try to get in ASAP, because holidays are here. It's a busy season. And quite frankly, I feel like Q4 has been insane, because everyone is like, oh my God, the end of the year. And I want people to make sure that they book, when they need to. But for what it's worth, if you are looking to book with me, we can also set up, I recognize that taxes are real. So if you are someone who's like, I want to have a 2023 investment, but like book a session in 2024, we can talk about how we can do that as far as getting on my schedule ahead of time for work that's going to be done in 2024. If you need any sort of write-off, so we can chit chat about all those things. So just book a discovery call. That discovery call may happen in the beginning of January, because like I said, I am full in December. There may be a couple times open right now, but I know it's very limited. So I'm well aware of it. I have been talking about it for quite some time, just because obviously taking time out for the holidays. I hope everyone is taking some time off, but just busy. And I want to work with you. I want to help you. So make sure you get on that discovery call list. Okay, let's jump into brand photos. So here's the thing. I will tell you right now, if you have ever used a template of mine, if you are booked to do it in a day, you have access. And if you're in SEO school, you have access to my brand photography guide. I say some of this stuff in here, or most of this stuff in that guide. I would highly recommend getting that guide though, because it will also walk you through what photos to take. So today's episode is not talking about what photos we're taking. We're talking about how to get people to be your models for those photos. So if we're talking about models, right? A quick breakdown of like, do I need models or do I not? If you work with other people, especially in person, I would say yes, you need models. You need someone to be in your photos because you can't just do photos of you working with yourself. It doesn't work that way. So when we think about, what are we actually going to be using the models for? You're going to be doing the treatment, the service, whatever you do for your people on this person. So ideally, if we just want to be quick about it, this person that you have for your model should look like your ideal client or do the things that your ideal client does. So if we are treating, powerlifters, it would be ideal that we use a powerlifter. If we treat young children and we're a pediatric therapist, then we're probably going to need children. So that's just a quick little, who should we ask, right? The next step is just saying to yourself, okay, I have to ask these people. So a lot of people will say, I feel bad, quote unquote, asking someone if I can take pictures with them. I will say that I understand that. And I know that, I have people who, when they were pregnant, for instance, they didn't want their picture taken. So yes, there are people like that. There are people who don't want their picture taken when they're pregnant for whatever reason, right? And I think a lot of people will say, I don't want to ask, whether it's because they didn't want their picture taken when they were pregnant or because they just don't want to feel like they're using their pregnancy or their diagnosis as, I guess, something that they can take a picture of, which I get it. I 110% get it. I will say that I had scoliosis and I'm always the demo, and whatever class I go to, I always end up being the demo. And I'm just like, I've accepted this and I also don't care. Right. So like, I'm happy to help out. And I will say that most folks will say, I would love to help you out. So I would say if you are trying to find models, the biggest thing you can do or the easiest thing you can do is ask, right? So just ask people. And if they say no, they say no. And if you are someone who is worried about, the population you work with might have, it might be highly sensitive. I get it. Approach the conversation in that way. So, hey, I totally understand if you say no to this. I am just asking because X, Y, and Z, and I would love to have you as a model for my brand photos if you're open to it. And also letting them know where these pictures are going to go, because it's very likely that they're going to go on brochures, they're going to go on the website, they're going to be in your social media. So maybe that person would be happy to be in the photos if their face wasn't in the photo, which can be possible, especially for if you're having like a pregnant belly, quote unquote. You can definitely use photos that are shoulders down and that person's head never really has to be in the photos. Yes, you'll be limited to where you can use them and how you'll use them, but it is possible. So I will say that just asking and then also prefacing the conversation with, this is an ask. You do not need to say yes. And letting them know how their photos are going to be used and asking them if they are okay with that. And maybe someone is okay with them being used on social media, but not on your website. I don't know if that would ever happen, but that could be the case. So that's kind of like how to actually approach the conversation, right? And the thing is sometimes you can just, I'm going to say, quote unquote, fake it. So if you work with young kids, one of the easiest ways to do it is to use your own kids. Now, are your kids too old? Then don't use them. But if you work with babies and the only baby you have access to is your baby, cool. Use that baby. If you need to ask a friend, right? It doesn't need to be an actual patient. It can be anybody. And obviously somebody who is going to be okay with signing a photo release, especially for a child. You have to sign a photo release for kids that are under 18 because obviously you're putting their photo on the internet. So all of that matters, right? You have to ask though. And I think that if you don't ask, you might be missing out on an opportunity for someone to help you, because people want to help. They want to help you. They would love to be a part of something bigger. A lot of people will just say, of course I will be there, right? So that's kind of like a big thing, is just ask. Now, the other thing is setting a time. So I have found that it's really difficult to schedule a brand session with models because the models have to be available. So instead of retrofitting the model's schedule to your schedule, you're going to have to set the time and the place before you ask your models. So if it's a Saturday, the middle of the day, you tell your models it's going to be on X Saturday at the middle of the day. Now, I will say that I have seen mornings work better, especially on the weekend, because then it's out of the way and they can go about their weekend. Or if you're going to do some sort of afternoon, you could also do, a Friday afternoon, or maybe, even a middle of the week afternoon, just understanding that people are going to have different schedules. So ideally, based on your ideal client, you kind of know what their schedule is realistically, and you could plan out accordingly. Well, most people are available at X time on X day. I will say Saturday morning seems to be the most beneficial time, because then anybody who wants to do stuff in the afternoon or the middle of the day, they still can. And you're also not facing, the rough, harsh morning, I will say, like morning and midday sun. So that would be my recommendation for day and time, and getting people to be on the same day and time. You just set that and you let them know when it's going to be. Now, leading up to the session, right, you're going to want to make sure you're sending out reminders. I will also say one of the most important things about models is that people don't know what to wear. So you're going to tell them what to wear. I will say that all you can tell people, or all you should tell people, are neutral colors. So gray, black, white. Some people say cream is fine too. I would just tell them to avoid anything that's on the front of their shirt. So like they should not have another business name, or even if they could avoid having something like North Face, like written really big on their hoodie. It would be really ideal if they had either no logos, a plain shirt, or if they had like a small symbol. We can't get around someone having a Nike symbol on their shirt, and that's fine. It's more or less like the big distracting brand names that are on the front of shirts, as well as like really distracting colors. Because if you have brand colors that are blue and green, let's just say, and someone shows up to your brand session wearing a pink hoodie, it's going to make your website look kind of funky, because pink doesn't really match your brand colors. It's not part of your brand scheme. So asking them to wear neutral colors is really ideal for the whole photo shoot in general, but also just for anything that you're using it for. So being specific about what to wear. It sounds like you're being, I'm going to use the word bossy, but you're just being very specific about what you need. And also, people like being told what to wear. Do I wear jeans? Do I wear shorts? Do I wear yoga pants? What should I wear? And then telling them what color to wear makes it even easier for them. So it takes away the stress of what do I need to wear? What's everybody else going to wear? What would look good? You just tell them. So there's that. Now, what actually provoked me to have this podcast, or to record this, was a post that I had seen about someone asking for models for the session, or models for their brand photography session. I think it might have actually been a videography session, regardless. And the post was saying a model call, essentially, like, I would love a model. You're going to get 30% off your service. And it really struck a nerve with me. And I will say that I will die on the hill of, you should be paying your people to be a part of your brand photography session. And we're going to talk about what payment means in a second, but they should not be paying you for that session with monetary exchange. Like, they should not be giving you money. You should not be giving them a 30% discount on that service. They should not be paying you at all, like giving you money. That should not be part of it at all. I will say that what payment means is going to be different for everyone. So payment could be as simple as giving them a free session. So a free recovery care session. So at the practice that I owned, we would do a free recovery care session. That was a 30-minute session. It was a lower price point. We would give people a free recovery care session, right? And then I think one time we might have given them a t-shirt as well. So monetary exchange from you doesn't have to happen either. You don't have to give them money. You can just give them a session, a free session. You could also give them a t-shirt, right? You could also give them, I don't even know, a cup, or you can give them a thank you card, a gift to Starbucks, a gift card to Starbucks, a gift card to a local cafe. And that could be a way to make it meta as well, right? So we're supporting a small business by gifting a gift card to a small business. So I said Starbucks, maybe you choose a small cafe instead. So there are different ways for you to quote unquote pay someone, right? Now, the thing is I understand that some people might say, but I can't afford to give people, I can't afford to not charge someone. The thing is I don't get that, only because this person is giving up their time, their free time to help you. So I will say it's a hard boundary for me when someone is giving up their free time, even if they're getting treatment by you, even if they're getting free advice, even if they're getting manual therapy, I don't care what it is, they're not getting a session that's about them anyway. The session is going to be about the photos or the video. Yes, do you deliver the same service? Sometimes, like I will say, yes, sure, you might be doing cupping, you might be doing dry needling, but it's not the same focused session that you'd be giving if you didn't have a camera on you. So that's one hard boundary for me. I'm like, you're not getting the same service. Two, it's like that person could be doing something else, whether they left work early or they are not spending time with their kids or they're not going grocery shopping and now they have to go later on tonight, which then affects, the time they're spending at home. So that person's actually giving up time to be at your session, right? So they're already investing, let's call it, they're already paying with their time, right? So to have a monetary payment on top of that for that service sounds insane to me. And lastly, I will also say that, that person, so yes, they're giving up their time and yes, they're saying they're okay with it, but they're also giving you, their body, their face to be all over your stuff. And without them, you might not have the marketing material that will get you more patients in the future. So I would say it is worth it to me at all costs to make sure that that person feels like they are doing me the biggest favor in the world, because they are. And realistically, because they are offering their time and their body and their face and, allowing you to do X, Y, and Z service while they're getting photographed or videoed, you're going to get patients because of them. So they're actually making you money in the long run because yes, photos do matter. And if you get one patient off of that, I don't know what your rates are, but if you do the calculation here, it's not worth it for those people that are being your models to pay you for that session. So all in all, like I said, payment does not need to be money. Payment can literally just be, I will give you a card with a gift card that's $5. Or it could be, I'll give you a t-shirt, or it could be, I'll give you a free session. Yes, your time is valuable as well. I will say that your time is valuable, but that will go back to me saying this session, this brand photography session with someone that you're allowing to, come into your space, give them a small amount of treatment for free, and then gifting them something in return, you're going to make your money back regardless, because those photos matter so much that they're going to bring you in new patients. So all of these, I guess this episode is ending up being a little bit longer than I anticipated, but the big message here is that when you are trying to get models for your brand photography session, do you need them? If you're an in-person business and you're treating humans and you are doing different services, cupping, massage, exercise-based therapy, whatever it may be, yes, you need to show people who you work with, because those photos are going to be on all your marketing materials and your website, etc. And just by seeing who you work with and how you work with them will bring you more patients. And it's a great marketing tool, having photos. Now, I am also approaching this as you're hiring someone to take your brand photos. I don't care if you use your iPhone. I don't care. But these photos are still going to be used on all of your marketing material, and that's the goal of this. So if you don't hire someone, cool, you still need a model. The next thing is how to ask them. Just ask, but preface the conversation, or, set them up to understand where these photos are going to go, what they're going to get as payment, and whatever payment looks like, that it's payment according to you and your business and what you can afford and yada, yada. And make sure you let them know when it's going to happen, right? So, and also just say, you can say no. It will not hurt my feelings if you say no, if you do not want to do this. And lastly, payment. So decide how you want to offer this person your thank you, whether that's just a card, whether that's a hug, whether that's a sincere, I can't afford to pay you right now. I truly appreciate your help. And honestly, this means so much to me. That is better to me than, and obviously way better to me than having them pay for that session. And also understand that it doesn't always have to be money. It can be a t-shirt, it can be a cup, it can be a gift card, it can be a mobility ball, it can be anything. It can realistically be anything, and you can get creative with it. Get creative. I will say I've seen the greatest things. I've seen people, like I said, support other small businesses with a $10 gift card and then give that gift card to the person who is helping them out. So just understand, like, that's also a business expense. So if you have someone who does your accounting, you can also say, hey, I paid this individual, $50 to come and be my model. And then you write that off as a business expense. I will say I did not really touch on how much you should pay them. It's obviously up to you. I will say that most people will say they don't want money. And that's why it was easier to gift a session than it was to pay in money or give people cash. Just because it was a set value, and people that were coming to be models were always patients. So they knew what the session was. So if we gifted it to them, they knew what to expect. So I will say, if you're deciding like how much to pay them, I've seen people pay people $25. I've seen people pay them $25. I've seen people pay, $50, $75. I've seen it all across the board. I will say though, just make sure that this person feels valued, knows that what they're doing is super helpful for your business, and just know that they're giving up their time and they're giving up other stuff to help you out. And yes, they would love to do it. Yes, they're excited to do it, but let's just make sure that they also know that they're appreciated and that the service that they're getting, during that session, it may not be the same service that likely is not the same service that they're going to get if they were to come in for a separate session. So let's not treat it as such and make them pay for that session. So yeah, that's really the gist of everything. I will say, once again, if you have not bought my brand photography guide, I would definitely go do that. It will walk you through what photos you need, how to plan for the session, how to choose your photographer, and if you choose to hire someone. And then stay tuned. Eventually here, I'm going to have a how you can take your own brand photos workshop. Not entirely sure when that's going to happen, but we'll have that eventually. So stay tuned for that. And let me know if you have questions. I know that I am typically not the person to come on here and I'm like, this is a black and white statement and this is the way it is. But I will say that I am very much so, I am a firm believer in people should not be paying for these brand photography sessions if they're a model for you. So I wanted to make sure that I address that here. So yeah, let me know if you have questions. I'm happy to answer. That's all I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for listening. I will catch you next time.